this is Noreen from Joya Cards, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Yay! For more of my Stampin' Up! Card videos, please click that subscribe button and the little bell, and you'll be notified when my videos release. Anyway, now let's go make a card. Hello everybody. So I want to show you a really cool technique that you can do on your Brother Scan and Cut. And if you are a demonstrator or a big hobbyist and you don't have a Brother Scan and Cut, you might want to consider getting one, because it really does do a lot of cool things. Now, this doesn't look like much of a card. Actually, it's from the Paper Pumpkin, the October 2021 Paper Pumpkin. But you can actually make this card without the Paper Pumpkin kit, because if you go with Peaceful Place, you'll notice it's this paper right here. So I'm going to go ahead and make the card, but I'm going to show you how I did something really cool on the Brother Scan and Cut. Now, if you look at the Season's Greeting here, which is from Mary Snowflakes, you're going to notice that it not only is cut on the outside, but I've also got a shadow underneath. And what I did is, obviously, I used my Brother Scan and Cut. Now, let me explain to you what the Brother Scan and Cut does, or one of the things that it does. It will take in whatever you put on its mat and it'll scan it. It's a scanner, right? And it'll take that piece and then it will, upon a few commands, cut around it. Now, when it cuts around it, it cuts in one continuous piece. So if it's a circle, it's going to cut around the circle. If it's a C, it's going to cut around the C. It follows a line. And when a line is broken, that's when it goes another direction. Well, if you notice on the Season's Greetings, there's all kinds of split lines here. There's no circle. There's no enclosed line. And that is what I'm going to show you, is there's a trick around it to do that. And then there's a trick to make this shadow here, to offset it. So you can take an image and tell the Scan and Cut to go inward or outward against that line. And what we're doing is we're going to make a shadow outward, which is great for something like this. This does not have a die, and it obviously doesn't have two dies. So let's go ahead and let's get it to the point where we're going to do this. So we're going to take you're going to take the Peaceful Place, and you're just going to cut this piece out in the 5.5 by 4 1/4. Now, I still do have one of my pieces from the Paper Pumpkin kit. And by the way, this is shaded spruce. Now, even though this is from the kit, you can do this yourself. So 5.5 by 4 1/4 scored and folded, and then take this cut and put it on top. So, I mean, and that is just a beautiful card amongst itself. And really, the only other things I did to this card is I added the rhinestone basic jewels to it. So I put like the red on the tops of the trees, and then I also took these metallic pearls, and I put a couple metallic pearls. I know it's really hard to see in the video. And then I also took the holiday rhinestone basic jewels. I took the green ones, the small greens, and I kind of decorated the tree. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Let's finish up the inside here before we get to our brother technique. And this is just a 5.5 by 4. It's just cut a little short. In fact, you can even make it a little shorter. And then I took another piece of that Peaceful Place DS paper, so it kind of just matched the front, and I'm going to take it not quite to the edge of the fold, you know, so it doesn't interfere, so it doesn't pop it open all the time, and just put it there. And then I took my rectangle stitched frame, and it's the largest of the long triangles. Now that you've got this piece cut, now none of these sayings will fit on the small piece, and you can grab any saying you want, or you could turn this around and go the other way, but I'm going to go ahead and continue to use my Paper Pumpkin just because it's easy. And I've got these little snowflakes on here like that. Now, if it's early enough, and then I'm also using the sentiment from Paper Pumpkin. If it's early enough, if you want to try to get this October Paper Pumpkin kit, which is the Christmas one, it looks like this. It's called Peaceful Christmas. I might be able to get you one but they usually sell out. But any kind of small little saying will do. I've taken this, I just snailed it, I'm going to put it in the middle. So you think that's just the card, and that is just a card, but now we're going to get to the part that I'm going to show you the technique. This is what you stayed for. Let's go ahead and start. So the first thing we're going to do is grab the Season's Greetings for Mary Snowflake, and I'm going to use my Stamparatus just because I want it real dark. Now usually I use a little Stampin' Spot thing so I can keep my plate clean, but I don't have one in Cherry Cobbler, and I am using Cherry Cobbler, so I'm going to go ahead and use my Stampin' Pad, and then I'm going to stamp this as many times as I need to get it that nice cherry color. And that looks really good. So we're going to take this piece. Now I just put a bunch of ink on there, so you really want to make sure before you start touching this that it dries. So give it a few minutes to dry. Here's a little tip on drying. Get your heating gun out and go ahead and kind of dry it with your heat gun, so you just make sure you're not going to smear anything. Okay, here's the part you've been waiting for. What I need to make sure is all the connections are closed. Remember, the scanner sees one continuous line, like a circle is one continuous line. If you break that circle, it's going to go in like this. So we want it to cut only on the outside and not so much on the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these. Now take like a mechanical pencil, and you're really going to have to, and you might have to play with it a couple of times. At first, what you want to do is you want to make your connections in real light pencil. Now, your brother Scan and Cut might not see it, and you might have to make it a little darker once we get it on the mat. And I'll show you when we go to the mat. But right now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the connections of where I want it to go. So this S right here, I'm going to take the end of the S, and I'm going to connect it to the E in like a little dip. So from the S to the E. And then I notice there's a space between the E and the A. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to draw a straight line. I'm going to make it kind of curved. And then I'm going to go from the A, the top of the A, and go to the S. And go to the S and go to the N. And I'm making that same dipped kind of thing. Now, the N, the top of the N is straight. So I'm just going to take the top of the N straight to the O. Okay. Now here's an apostrophe. This is a little devil one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top of the apostrophe and go down to the N. And make sure when you're doing this, you're getting all the way from one part of the ink to the other, because it's looking for that line. And then I'm going to go the other side, and I'm going to go down to the S. Okay. Now on the S's have, you know, it's an S, so you think it's going to have to go like this. Well, we need to close that as well. It shouldn't go in this one, but I'm going to close the S right here. All right. Now the other S we don't have to worry about, because I'm going to take it from like mid S here. I'm going to take it down to the top of the G. So I'm going to take it in kind of a arced way, like we did with the other letters on top. Okay. And then I'm going to go over to the G, and I'm going to do that same dipped kind of line to the S. Okay. And then I'm going to take the top of this S here, and I'm going to swing down, and I'm going to close that S. Okay. Now, so right now the Brother Scan and Cut is going to go, okay, close, close, closed, around, close, 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 closed. Go around the bottom of the S, and in between the S and the G, I'm going to just make a straight little line here. Okay. Now the reason why we're doing pencil and we're doing this really light is because eventually we're going to have to erase this, and we don't want to make it too dark so you can't see it later on. So now I'm going to take the N right here, and these are all pretty straight. So I'm going to go straight to the G, and then the middle of the N straight over to the right side of the N. The I, I'm going to connect that together. The T to the I together, and these are all straight. The E to the T. There's no space between the two E's. And then over by the R, I don't want it to go into the R. So I'm going to make just a straight line down from like mid E to the end of the R. And then the R, I got to close up the bottom of that R, make sure R and G are all the way closed. And then it's going to go around, and I want to make sure the top of the R and the G are closed. And then I'm going to make an arced line from the R to the S. And then finally, right here, this S, it goes inward, so I have to close that up as well. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to close it about right there. And you might want to, because I don't know if you're using this greeting or if you're using anything else, but you want to make sure once you've done all that to go over it like you're the scanner. So go, okay, is everything closed here? And even if the stamp, you know, some stamps are designed to leave a little blank area, make sure those are closed. So it's not like going into this A, it looks like it's a little loose. So I'm just going to emphasize those closings. So I'm going to go, okay, it's going to go around, it's going to go around, it's closed, 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 and then down, closed, over and around. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take you over to my Brother Scan and Cut, and we're going to scan it. Sometimes if you write it, if you do it too light, it will go into it. Now, there's a preview on it, and you can kind of tell. Now, this is pretty small, so hopefully we're going to see that. Now, on this one, I thought I had the whole thing closed, and if you notice, between my E and my T, it was a little too light, so it went in. Now, on this one, it's fine, and if you want it to cut in, I don't know if you can see that too well. If you want it to cut in, you could leave that space closed, but you run the risk of it going into this E over here. This one, it just happened to not. Also, the S here, it went into the S a little bit, but that's okay. Now, and what we also did on this when I scanned it is I offset it. Offset means it goes out. And I did a 0.04, the difference. So it's just offset 0.04, the lowest setting. And then when we do this backed piece, I'm going to go to 0.12. We're going to skip 0.8 and go right to 12 because 8 was a little small and 12 was nice and bigger. So let's go to the machine. Now, this is my Brother Scan and Cut, and I have the DX version. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on here and get it warmed up. And I'm going to open this up, and I have my little tool here to work the screen. Now, when it warms up like that, we're going to wait, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to put in the mat properly. So you're going to go to these pictures, and I'm going to go ahead and push the home button, and then I'm going to hit the OK. It says that the carriage and the mat will move into the initial position. So the rollers are going. Now it's ready to go ahead and take in the mat. Now the mats look like this. Unfortunately, Brother Scan and Cut mats are like really terrible. And after they get a couple of wears, they stop to stick. They stop sticking. Say that 3 times fast. Anyway, and what I've done is I've taken my delicate frog tape. It looks like this. You can get it anywhere. And I've taped it down just to be sure. Do not use washi tape. I used washi tape when I first got the machine, and what it did is when it took it in, one of those tapes wrapped around the scanning drum of my machine. And it's like, no. And it, you know, I was going to take it in and get it repaired, but I didn't. And eventually it worked its way out. I got super lucky. So make sure that you don't use washi tape. So I've got it lined up in the grooves here. And then I'm going to hit the mat icon here, and it's going to take it in and position it. Just like that. Now the fun part. Now, this machine will do a lot of things, but you don't have to learn everything at once. Don't get overwhelmed by the machine. What we want to do is we want to scan it and cut it. So we're going to take what we have on the mat, not from a computer or anything. So I'm going to go scan and direct cut because it's on the mat. It's not on a computer. And it says the machine or computer. So you go machine and then go ahead and hit start. And what it's doing right now is it's taking it in and scanning that entire mat, and then I'll bring it back out. So that drum inside that he's got the washi tape on, that messed up the scanner. So every time I scanned, I had a black line down on the screen. So there was a black line right here, and that's because that piece of washi tape was on it. So anyway, so I took it in and scanned it. It knows what it's doing. So the next step is you want to narrow down the fields, because any kind of little splotch on your mat like this, it'll pick it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these arrows. I have to do this and make sure I'm pointing the camera correctly at the same time. Let's see if I can do it. And I'm going to take this arrow here and I'm going to bring it over just like that. And now I'm going to hit OK. So I framed my image, and then it's going to think about it. And it's like, yeah, I guess so. And then that comes up. Now this next screen, don't worry about any of this. Just hit OK. The next screen is the fun part. Okay, we're going to edit. We're going to see how many images it did that full circle. Remember I told you about the full circle, because that's why we connected all those lines. So we're going to hit edit. Now this right here is just the edge of the paper. We don't want to cut that. So we're going to hit the little trash can and delete it. And yes, I do want to delete that. And look, it's doing the box around the whole thing. Let's see. Now, just because it did that box doesn't mean there's not another little box. So we're going to check and go to the arrow. Oh, it picked up the tape. We don't want that tape. So we're going to trash can. Okay. We're going to hit the arrow again. And that's it. We did it. We were able to close up that entire image. Now we can go ahead and hit OK, because we got rid of all the other nonsense we didn't want on the thing. Now, here's the other one, the offsetting. Offsetting means what this machine will do is it will cut right on the image itself. But we don't want to do that. I want to give it a little bit of an edge. So I'm going to offset it. That little twirly thing is offset. And the smallest distance you can do is that 0.04. And we're going to go OK. And then, since we've already edited and we've already offsetted, don't worry about this here. Just hit OK again. And then it's going to think about it and go, yeah, I guess so. And then we're going to hit please select, and we're cutting, because this machine does a lot of stuff, but you don't have to know everything. And it will tell you right here what it's going to cut. So it all looks good. So I'm going to hit start. And now it's going to take it in. It's going to line up. And it's going to cut. Now, this is why I taped that piece of paper down, is because, like I said, these mats are terrible. There's no way to clean them or restick them or anything. If there's a video out there, which there's a YouTube video and everything, I'd love to see it. But for the most part, once this mat stops sticking, which is right away, just start using the tape and it'll be fine. Also, if you've ever had your machine for a while and all of a sudden you can't get your mat to be taken in initially, you have to get a new mat. That's what that means. So anyway, guess what? It just cut it. So I'm going to go up here and go, okay. Now, do not take the mat off. Do not take the mat. Don't do it. Just take the paper. Just the paper. So I'm going to go ahead, and I have one of my, because I have a Cricut, and they give you these little spatula things. These are great. But I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to pull this tape up. See if I can do it one-handed. Bunk, bunk, bunk. There we go. And then I'm going to take my little Cricut spatula thing, and I'm going to pull it up just like that. And then let me show you how to offset it first, because what we're going to do, we're going to take these and erase the lines. But before we do that, I need to offset it in a different color. So I'm going to go get some shaded spruce, and we're going to do the offset. So I got a piece of shaded spruce, and I put it on the mat right where the other piece was cut. And you know that because if you look at the screen, it will show you where it is. So I know how many cells down and over. And I went ahead and I reused the same pieces of the delicate frog tape and just put it there. Now, I did do a little faux bar and I went backwards once. But get to this screen. If you're not at this screen, go and hit that back arrow and get to the screen with the edit and the offset on it. Because what we're going to do now is take that image and we're going to offset it again. So I'm going to click on the offset, the little swirly thing, and I'm going to move it from 4 to 8 to 12. We're going to do it at 12 and then hit OK. And then hit OK again. And it's going to process it. And then we're going to select it, cut, and start. It's going to take it in and it's going to just cut that frame. So it knows where it was because we never got rid of that first image. So it knows exactly what to do. And that's it. And just hit OK. Now to get out of this, go ahead and hit home. And when you go OK here, it gets rid of everything. So it's all gone. This original scan is gone. And that's okay because this is actually a unique piece. Because every time you cut it, it makes a different piece out of it. So anyway, let's go ahead and take this off. And by the way, to get rid of or to eject the mat, you just hit the mat button, which is right there. And that's it. And you can turn it off and close it up. Now let's get our background piece off the mat here. And I've got my little Cricut little spatula. And this will go right under here like that. Now before we match it up, there's one last thing we need to do, and that's get rid of all the pencil lines. So take an eraser, a good clean eraser, and start erasing it. So I'm going to do that. And I'll be right back. Now I've got all those lines erased. All you have to do is snail it, or if you want to put dimensionals, that's great, and just put it on top. So now you've made an offset piece. So that's how you do it. Now if you want to make multiples of this same thing, you might take, because it's going to all stamp the same, just make sure you make your lines all in the same spot, and you will have to do your top piece individually. But the bottom pieces are fine because they should be about in the same spot that you always do. Or you can copy the lines before you erase them and then make some more. But that's how you make an offset sentiment image. So that'll do it for me. And don't forget, you can still win a mystery card if you like and subscribe. Put in the email comment or put in the comments of the YouTube video and say, hey, I'd like to win a demo card. And you have to put your email address. And you have to say, I want to win a card. And then I'll contact you, get your mailing address, and send you out a card. But that'll do it for me. Thanks. Bye.